let's get this out of the way first. The following video is going to be talking about the games Undertale and Five Nights at Freddy's. If either of those games make you vehemently angry to the point where you can't contain yourself, well, I do implore you to at least try and stay, because I'm not really going to be going into details about those games. It's just going to be talking about sort of how they were released and how that release format kind of helped it become the huge success that it managed to be. I'm not going to be going into specifics about the characters or the games. I'm just going to be sort of talking about what made them the success that, or at least what allowed them to make the success that they are. Anyway, jumping straight into the episode.
It's no secret that internet darlings Undertale and Five Nights at Freddy's were lucrative runaway successes. During the time of Providence, it was hard to escape the steely-eyed gaze of Bonnie Bunny and the warm-hearted chuckle of Sans the Skeleton. Both games inspired the scarily large, passionate, dedicated fan bases the likes of which most big-budget AAA games could only ever dream of attaining. To boil their success down to a single element would be disrespectful to what they are as games, and pieces of art in the game's medium. Both are well-renowned for their incredibly well-designed, familiar, and identifiable characters. Undertale achieved incredibly high critical praise for its writing, world-building, and approach to exploring morality. Five Nights at Freddy's tapped into our fear of the uncanny, presenting us manic, demented, possessed idols of what should be children's entertainment that move with lumbering deliberation whilst maintaining a dead-eyed gaze ready to snap at a moment's notice, accompanied with fantastic visual composition and well-utilized sound design. Whilst these features are incredible in their own right and a part of the reason for their respective games' ongoing popularity, both games share a common element which allowed them to find their footing in the first place. See, a recurring problem in games as a medium is requirement. To play a PS4 game, you need a specific dedicated video game machine, an HDMI-compatible display, and you can bet none of that comes cheaply. Publishers convince us we need state-of-the-art hardware to enjoy a video game, that we need to fork out a lot of money a lot of us just don't have, and on top of that, the hardware is revised with more dramatic revisions touting performance and visual upgrades to same-generation systems being introduced this year in the PS4 Pro and Microsoft's yet-to-be-released Project Scorpio, upgrading and subsequently making their prior versions far less valuable and technically obsolete in many ways. The modern gaming landscape encourages us to spend more and more to invest whilst making it riskier and less appealing to do so. FNAF and Undertale managed to buck this trend and use it to their advantage, if perhaps unwittingly. The thing that allowed, not necessarily caused, but flat out allowed them to become the widespread hits they are, is accessibility. I could boot up any Windows-enabled machine and be confident that I'll be able to run any FNAF game or Undertale without a problem. 2D games running with low demands for system resources, these games are made for older, inexpensive systems that far more people will have access to than will ever have access to a new-age console system. Whilst not free, these games are relatively inexpensive, Undertale being a mere $10 and the FNAF games fluctuating between $6 and $10 each, with the only requirement being a very basic PC system and a free Steam registration. If I wanted to, the next time Hard Rubbish comes around, I could dig up someone's old desktop they've thrown out and use it to happily boot up Undertale and play through around 20 hours of content total. That's far more than a lot of games on a multi-$100 system could offer me, with a game charging me upwards of $60 and on top of that with far less barriers in my way. It sounds a little obvious, a little patronizing, but it's honestly the truth, as many people were actually able to invest in and play FNAF and Undertale because they were actually able to play it. And yet it seems publishers are constantly in need of reminding this, when Square Enix pouts because it wasn't able to shift 1 billion copies of Tomb Raider because not everyone was interested enough to drop $60 on that Square Enix, so maybe manage your budgets a little better in the future. In fact, I could safely say, if you're able to stream this video from the internet right now without issue, then you're probably able to buy, download, and play through Undertale and every FNAF game without issue, which is far more than I can say for any AAA game from the past few years.
It's stuttering again. Oh god, terrible. Fucking atrocious.
So that's what I think enabled Undertale and Five Nights at Freddy's to be the successes they were. I obviously think there's a concoction of other elements that enabled it to become the big success that it was, but I think had they not been accessible from the start in such a manner to so many people, that I don't think it would have actually been able to reach that level of acclaim and widespread attention, because it wouldn't have been able to, like most AAA games. They just can't reach that market, because they're so prohibitive and they require so much monetary input that a lot of people just don't have. Anyways, hopefully a lot of companies can look and take some sort of inspiration or note as to what smaller indie games are doing and how they manage to get themselves into a lot of people's hands, and maybe you do too. Thanks guys, and I will see you on the next episode of Dick Bites. Bye bye. Remember to follow and upvote if you please. Please. I really want to keep this series going. I like talking about stuff I'm interested in.